Welcome to BIScussions, the podcast where we will explore brain injury support, cognitive rehabilitation, and our mission to raise standards across our industry. I'm Natalie McKenzie, Director, Founder and Cognitive Rehabilitation Therapist at the BIS Services.
And I'm Eky, Operations and Registered Manager. Each week we're coming together to bring you expert advice, practical tips, and the real stories behind brain injury rehabilitation.
So whether you're a case manager, personal injury solicitor, support worker, rehab assistant, or a family member or client navigating this complex journey, this podcast was built for you. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of BIScussions, where we are delighted to have another guest in the studio with us. This week we have Sarah Griggs. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
So I've done this with other guests, and again, Sarah doesn't know the questions. Doesn't know what we're going to do. It's not that scary, don't we? But basically, I asked the internet about you.
Goodness.
I might have given it a little bit of insider information. So Sarah Griggs in a nutshell. Partner in the London office of Irwin Mitchell's serious injury team, representing adults and children with life-changing injuries, particularly catastrophic and complex cases. Tick?
Yep.
Okay. National Brain Injury Coordination Group Lead for Irwin Mitchell. i.e., it says, she leads how the firm approaches brain injury.
Fantastic.
APIL Fellow and APIL accredited brain injury specialist.
Thank you.
There you go. Previously a trustee of Headway, South East London.
East London.
East London. That was my old one. Chair of ABIL, the Acquired Brain Injury Forum for London.
Yeah.
Trustee of Headway East London. Formerly,
Yeah.
yes. Ranked in the Legal 500 as a leading individual and leading partner and in chambers and partners for catastrophic injury work.
Goodness, it's just like this is your life.
I know. You're welcome. I haven't finished yet. 2021 finalists for Catastrophic Injury Lawyer of the Year at the Personal Injury Awards. I can write CVs whenever. Summary, specialises in traumatic brain injury, capacity issues, and this one was interesting. Securing interim payments for early rehab. Wait for it. That is Sarah's drumbeat. Get rehab funding flowing fast.
I love that. I mean, that is my mantra. That's fabulous.
There we go.
That's really good. I'm quite
And
pleased
then
with
I
that.
liked this one. This might have been a little bit of my information, but they did put it in bold. A prolific networker. And fixture on the brain injury circuit, seemingly at every conference, charity event, fundraiser and forum across the sector, knowing for connecting people across legal, clinical and charity worlds.
Lovely. I'm quite
And
proud
then
of my connecting.
mum of two young boys.
Yeah, just add that little bit at the end. I do occasionally see them and do some child rearing.
But honestly, I mean, there's
introduction.
not an event that I don't see you at. And if you're not there, I'm like, where's Sarah?
But I do also get the day job done.
Exactly. I don't know how you do it. I really don't. So let's rewind a bit. So we've done This Is Your Life. So we'll start at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into law?
This is actually quite current because it's just been the 30th anniversary of This Life on the BBC, and prior to doing law I actually read English at university, which I loved, very passionate about, but was at that stage of thinking, what am I going to do for my next stages? And I loved This Life. I was so into it, and I thought this could be me. And I actually did some work experience at a local firm actually where I'm from in Hereford, and just got the bug for it. And I could see the sort of skills that I'd learnt with my English degree, very much my interest in people, sort of my drafting skills, my writing skills could be useful to being a lawyer. And so that was that. I did a law conversion and never looked back. And I did my training contract at a really small firm in Lincoln's Inn Fields. I was the only trainee that year.
Oh, wow.
And what was brilliant about it was that I was, if the post room were on annual leave, I covered post, I did checks, I did reception, I made tea, I did everything. It was I've been qualified 20 years, so there's only one computer that had the internet on the room where all the legal secretaries sat, so I was the one that was designated to do any internet legal research.
Get on the World Wide Web.
On the World Wide Web, indeed. And it was a wonderful sort of introduction to being a lawyer, and I feel like it was a great way of understanding holistically how a law firm would work. And I did one seat in litigation, which was by far my the one I love the most, and had a really interesting case. Ended up going to the High Court. It was a spinally injured lady, actually. She was a nurse that had a really bad. It was a lifting case, and we won. Liability had been denied, and I just got the bug. I just got the bug, and from then on, I moved on to a specialist catastrophic injury firm where I was for 2 years, and then I moved to Irwin Mitchell when I was 2 years qualified, and have been there ever since.
That's a long time. So how long have you been there?
I've just had my 20th anniversary in February. Yeah.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
Wow, that is a long time. I mean, yeah, when I talk, because I've the business, and obviously the business 20 years, hence the podcast. And I think I've known you for a very long time. Like, we've worked with Irwin Mitchell for, well, as long as I can remember, 24 years. Obviously the business 20, but some of our early clients, and when I worked for the organisation before, the first kind of litigation ones came through IM. So we have such a long history, and you and I have been on some interesting
I know which one you're talking about.
Everybody knows what interesting means.
Yeah, those are the best ones.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So tell us a little bit. You kind of cover the spectrum: brain injury, spinal.
Yes, I mean, our serious injury team, Irwin Mitchell, covers every injury you can conceive. Head injury, spinal, polytrauma, amputation. But I personally specialise in brain. I started off doing everything, fatal cases obviously as well. But it was when I came back from my second maternity leave, actually, nearly 14 years ago, I was given the opportunity to take over a position in our specialist neurotrauma team at the time, and that's when I just honed being a specialist brain injury practitioner, which I've just absolutely loved. And I think a lot of it, as you say, Natalie and Eky, is because of the community and the people that you work with, and you build really close relationships. And when you're supporting your clients, having those links and those relationships helps you just bring in the best package of everything for your client, because you've got those connections.
So in terms of like the distinction between a solicitor that we might see, I know that it's not the same anymore, but your TV kind of, had an injury, call us, that don't seem to really have quite the experience.
Yeah.
And then, a specialist catastrophic firm. What is the distinction for those that might not know?
Well, it's definitely having the specialist knowledge and experience. I mean, over the years, I've become very interested in the medicine and the advancements and understanding what treatment and therapies my clients need. I work quite a lot with brain injury charities, so I meet with survivors of brain injury and their families. So hopefully, I have some understanding of what they need and what they require. And it's that knowledge and that holistic approach to put your client absolutely at the centre. It's all about them. The law is hugely important, but being a catastrophic injury lawyer is not just about being a lawyer. You wear so many different hats, and it's really important that you remember that and you use the law to the absolute best effect to get the result for that client. So yeah, it's knowledge, it's experience, it's specialism, and it's also a huge amount of desire, I think, and passion to support those particular clients.
Because it's hugely challenging, as
it's
we know.
Hugely challenging. It can be emotional, but it can be exceptionally rewarding.
So if there's anyone that's listening that doesn't work in the sector, maybe family members or potentially clients even, what is the features to look for? Obviously in IM, but in a good
in a good lawyer.
In a good lawyer.
Well, we always, the recommendation is that we always say, even when a client comes to me, I always say it's a long relationship. These cases can run minimum sort of 4 years sometimes.
And even that short, right?
Yeah, that short, absolutely. They can take a lot longer. I settled a case a few months ago for a young boy who was 10 when he had his TBI, and we settled it when he was 22 because we had to see how he got on with education and development. And that was a long relationship I had with his mum and with him. So you've got to build those close relationships. So, the guidance is always, meet more than one solicitor, make sure you're comfortable, check out their accreditations, make sure they've got their specialist APIL brain injury accreditation. That's not an easy accreditation to get. Right. You have to prove that you've got a lot of experience in working in these cases and have been involved in litigation, taking cases to trial. So don't be afraid to ask your solicitor what their experience is, how many clients they've represented, what kind of complexity of work, have they got clients that have lacked capacity, have they worked with financial deputies? Clients don't know who a case manager is when you meet them. There's so much jargon. I think if you meet a lawyer and it's not clear, that's also a bit of a red flag. You want your lawyer to make it as easy as you can to understand what's going on and not bamboozle you with jargon or legal terms. It's got to be an easy relationship of open communication.
And how do you balance that with professional boundaries? Just because I'm just thinking when you said 10 to 22 and having that relationship and I've seen some, we know some solicitors are very hands-on and some are not. So how does that professional boundary work within that field?
I did wonder if you'd ask that question. I know,
that's why we don't tell them what we're going to ask them.
It's tricky because it's fun. It's different. It's not like I would say my clients are my friends, but I do have close relationships with them. I was actually at a hospital yesterday and I had a WhatsApp message from the mum of one of my new clients. I know she's really anxious about something and I saw it and I couldn't reply straight away. So I sent a quick WhatsApp to someone in my team to make sure that she did get the answer that she needed. It's knowing that you're there, I think, to respond and to communicate, but also I think you've got to build that relationship of trust. So sometimes you do have to give news that a client might not like about a sort of the way some evidence is going in a case or the sort of settlement offers. It's a very emotional, raw process. And when you're putting it into figures at the end of it, it can make things seem quite brutal sometimes. So you do have to be alive to the fact that some of the conversations are going to be difficult. But so you have to have that respect and those boundaries as well. I mean, I was delighted a couple of months ago. I had a settlement meeting and my client asked the KC to walk out the room because he wanted to talk it through with me before he made his mind up, which was hilarious. But it's lovely to have that trust, having had that relationship with that person, that ultimately he felt it was between him and I to make the decision on his settlement. So yes, it's you want to have that good open relationship. Your clients trust you, but you are right, you do need to be bounded and still be a lawyer so that they know who your role is at the end. And hopefully I can walk that line because I do have really good relationships with my clients, and I'm always really sad when they end and I don't have that communication anymore.
I mean, when we, obviously our goal is to get clients to a point where they don't need us anymore, but there's always a sadness, a pride, but a sadness, isn't it? And it must be the same for anyone that works with clients for these long periods of time. Because as you say, Eky, obviously we work with lots of different solicitors and firms, and the variety of connection, shall we say, is vast. And I wonder as well, obviously, the internet says that that's kind of like that passion that you have for getting that rehab in fast. I wonder how much is connected to that connection to the individual and the family.
And I think it's the communication. It goes back to what you're saying about networking. It's as soon as I meet a client and I'm fairly sure they're going to instruct me, I'm already putting the piece of the jigsaw together. Who's going to be the right case manager here? Who are my experts? Who do I need to start lining up? And I just start sort of piecing it all together, which I find fascinating. And I'm very honoured that I have links within the community that I can contact the people like yourselves who are the the best in the business. So it's really, these links and networking and communication is so important.
So how does your filter work then? So I just have visions of you having this you're with a client and then you have all these all this information that's just coming out in all these clouds. You've got a case manager here and each therapist here. What do you look for then in each kind of what's your case management criteria? That's the word
for a case manager. I have my favourites. I'm not very good at maybe trying new things out. It's the case managers I love and work closely with are the ones that are not afraid of picking up the phone when things are tricky. I know I'm not going to be landed with a report that's full of errors or things I didn't know about that could cause, for example, something evidential that's cropped up that could be difficult to get an interim payment. That's when my life is difficult. My job is made easier, and my clients' lives are made easier when we have case managers who understand the legal system, who understand rehab, and understand that we all need to connect and communicate with each other. And the people that I work with work in that way. Unfortunately, that not all those case managers are available all the time.
No.
So you do have to think outside the box. And I have worked with some wonderful new case managers, and you've got to take it, but it's relying on, again, going back to your networks. I'm more likely to try a new case manager if an existing case manager, someone like yourself, would say, you know what, I've seen a good result. So that's why the networks come so important, because this is a field where this comes back to brain injury still not being very well understood.
Agreed.
There's a dearth of good experts. When I'm putting the jigsaw pieces together, I know the neurologist I want is probably going to have at least an 18-month waiting list. If you want a neuropsychiatrist, you're looking at
surely.
Absolutely. So we are very reliant on our community in brain injury, I think, to work together. It's really, really important. And I'm sorry if I haven't answered your question and gone off on a tangent.
No, this is what happens in these BIScussions. But no, I guess it's just thinking because obviously we know what, and these are very honest conversations. If we get a referral in, my first question will be, who's the case manager and who's the solicitor. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, and other times I'm like, okay, great, because we know, again, it's that safety of knowing, and it's not, ours isn't necessarily about favourites per se, it's just the experiences that we've had, knowing kind of how a package is going to go. But we also know there's sometimes where we know, and we're always on it, of course, but sometimes we know a particular lawyer or a particular case manager will have particular requirements, shall we say, or want things presented in a particular way. Yeah. So I think, there's nothing wrong with having the preferred providers, as it were.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
kind of...
I had a neuropsychology treating report the other day, and there was something just not quite right about it, and I just picked up the phone, and it just, as soon as I explained why I had a little trickiness with the way something was phrased, they just got it straight away. They were like, I can understand why that might make that difficult, and it doesn't affect my clinical reasoning, so I'm happy to make that change. It's just something that could have been a problem was just diffused.
And I think the point that you said about not just the case manager but anybody within the team understanding the legal system is so important. And obviously, as providers of the cognitive rehab assistance, like we inform them about the legal system as well. It has to go all the way down through, because obviously, as the reports that we do, the way that they're trained on what can be said, what shouldn't be said, the way that things can be interpreted, like the example there, it's so important. And I think I'm not sure it's been done enough. I know you've done a lot around it, and recently, not so long ago, actually did a training, didn't you, a webinar on it. But I think there's still a way to go to make sure that it's fully...
And a way to go, I think, I always feel a little bit disappointed when I get feedback from case managers or therapists that they find lawyers difficult to work with. I feel like quite disappointed in ourselves as a profession, because we know we are forward-facing people, client-facing people, and we should be accessible. And I think people should be... It should work together more naturally. It's clear that it isn't in all cases.
Why do you think that is?
I think there is a perception. I mean, we always say that lawyers are a distress purchase. We come in and help people when things have gone wrong, don't we?
Yeah,
so people don't really like interacting with lawyers, however nice we may be.
Yeah.
And I think it's an old profession, isn't it? It's some things that we do are still quite outdated. It's. Yeah.
I mean, I think I know. Well, okay, I have to be careful. I think
I know the reason.
I think certainly, and this might be a me that I reflect upon, that I think there is an assumption that lawyers aren't on the front line, as it were.
Sure. Yeah.
I think there's a bit of that still remaining.
Okay. Yeah.
Depending on how involved they are and what relationship they have. I think there are still situations where it is them and those that work in the that do the work. And I'll be honest, we've had that. Even still, we'll kind of we'll meet new people and say what we do, and we get so you work in the home,
you do the work,
and you're a little bit like
okay,
so I think there's still a little bit of that left. And I wonder if that kind of just adds to that kind of feeling of us and them. Not all the time, but I think it's an interesting thing. And again, it might be a me thing to reflect upon. But it's an interesting one. I was going to say as well, in terms of coming back to kind of you knowing what you need, certainly I've noticed over probably the last kind of 5-6 years, the need for such high level evidence and reporting now is so important in this sector. Has there been a shift in what you need?
I think you're right, Natalie. I think we have to prove everything, and we have to argue for every single penny that our clients need. And I think with I think brain injury can be a lot harder evidentially to prove than, say, for example, an amputation claim or a spinal claim, especially with the walking wounded type of cases. You know, someone's back at home, they might be working, even if it's part-time, but for all intents and purposes, they're okay, aren't they? Yeah. Given what they've been through, life is very much normal. And so we do have to evidence everything, which is where your MAC forms are so helpful for us.
Thank you. We have sleepless nights over MAC forms. For those of you that don't work with us, we have our bespoke report writing they're all done for individual clients, but they've grown into beasts, haven't they? And you know, we're actually
what used to take 15 minutes, I think maybe like 10 years ago, now takes our CRAs an hour.
Really? Yeah.
Just because of the sheer amount of detail that's needed and the complexity.
Yeah.
And I think because there's so many different therapists now involved as well, they're all looking for particular things to be observed and recorded.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, within maybe like a 3-hour session, you have like 4 or 5 disciplines wanting evidence from that 4-hour session, and that now can't be captured in 15 minutes.
No.
But we get the pushback from case managers and solicitors saying, well, no, it has to be done within half an hour. That recording has to be done because of the costing, which I understand. But then how do you balance the need for the evidence against the funding? So we're having those
really
constant
difficult.
conversations.
And the quality of the support as well, which is obviously what you provide is very high.
I think there's definitely, whether or not it's because, and we've had these discussions, whether or not cases have become more complex, or is it because, similar to Owen Mitchell, we're kind of positioned as working with more complex cases, and therefore get the more complex cases that are more nuanced and have, you know, maybe FND or neurodiversity as well, or
borderline capacity
issues, neurobehavioural. Is it we're getting more complex cases that are requiring more complex recording, or is it that actually, like you say as well, I feel there's more justification happening than ever?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think's led to that? The justification point, is there not is it as simple as isn't as many funds as there used to be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's changed. I mean, you're always going to have to fight very hard to get every penny in a personal injury settlement.
Fair enough.
And in cases like this, as I said, this sort of walking wounded example where it's hard to get across what clients need. And you know, I had a settlement meeting a couple of years ago. I was thinking of a young lad this morning who actually went on to get a first in his engineering degree after a severe traumatic brain injury.
That's amazing. It gives me goosebumps when I hear
I
things
know,
like
and
that.
it's fabulous, isn't it? It's wonderful. And he did have a full MDT. He had a case manager. But at the settlement meeting, the defendant was like, but so what are we here for? His life is back to normal. But, you know, he's got loads of fatigue. You know, he can hold a job down, but he can't do much else outside of that. No, it's still that education piece that we're always going to have to do.
It's the quality of life.
Yeah,
I think
the quality. Absolutely.
I think that's what gets missed, is that if they're able to kind of sustain some level in the community, I think it's that it comes back to what is defined as successful after a brain injury, what is defined as independence. So I found a really good statement actually the other day, and I want to talk about it actually. Literally, it blew my mind. It was like, what do people actually define as independence? They were like, one person could define independence as actually being left alone, I don't want anyone, that's me done. But other people actually could define independence as having the right support at the right time. Yeah, that allows them independence. I was like, wow. Yeah, because we all thrive, I think, especially in, you know, our field as kind of rehab providers. It's all about getting them back to be independent. Just get them back to be independent or some level of function, you know. But actually, isn't independence defined by what the actual client need is? And that could be some level of scaffolding for the rest of their life. Sure. And I just found that like, wow, why do people not talk about that more? And it's a quality of life.
Really interesting.
Yeah, it's true. And we've another guest that we'll have coming on is about independence, that actually one of her angle, it's not a belief, but kind of views, is that there isn't an independence, it's always an interdependence, that actually we're never getting a client to independence. So I think that's a good debate, so you can definitely bring that one back. But no, it's an interesting one. I was going to ask you, because obviously we know what our challenges are that we currently face in kind of doing the face-to-face rehab, but what are the biggest challenges as litigators at the moment? What is the big things that you've just becoming, not harder, but are the biggest challenges?
This is a really boring thing to raise, but we have to be very mindful of being proportionate with how we run the brain injury cases with the courts.
Right.
I don't know if you know about this, but now the courts have to, on cases that are worth less than 10 million, which a big catastrophic brain injury case could still be worth less than 10 million, the court puts budgets in place just to make sure that we are spending money proportionately on the cases. And they would make sure that you're using the right experts and you're not paying your experts too much money. So that can be quite challenging for case planning.
Okay.
So
is that relatively recent?
It's been in place for a number of years now, but it's still it's a challenge that we have to face. And you know, if you've had a tricky court hearing and a judge may say, actually, I don't think you need a neuropsychiatrist at this stage, you can't use that neuropsychiatrist. You can't use one. And if you have to go back to the court to get permission. You may even only be budgeted a certain amount for that expert report, so you have to have a conversation with your client. Should we spend the money?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that can be very challenging. That can be very challenging in managing cases. I think the challenges around legal costs could be harder for smaller law firms. Like the court fees are really expensive to issue a case at court. Issuing a catastrophic brain injury case will cost it's so much money. It's £10,000 the court fee.
I remember you explaining this to me, because there was a family member of mine that we were looking to potentially do something, and Sarah was explaining, and I was like, I had no idea it was actually that much. So, because obviously you have panels, don't you? This is a very simplistic way, but something will come in. There's a panel that will look at it to decide whether or not it's effectively. Worth
I mean, we're lucky at Owen Mitchell that we can make those decisions, but we do sometimes take over cases from smaller law firms that's a huge amount for them to stump up and make a decision. So that's more of a general challenge, I think, for other law firms doing personal injury. But it's the usual challenges, really. It's getting these cases off the ground, demonstrating to a defendant that this client has a rehab need, and it's age-old arguments, Natalie and Eky, that the sooner you start the rehab, the better the outcome. But we're still having those arguments.
Yeah. There's definitely still some 20-year-old themes that remain.
Ideally, every sort of way forward meeting I have with a defendant, I'll go and get my INA. We send it to them. They say, yes, we'll give you some funds under the rehab code. It doesn't always happen.
No, and we were definitely on the receiving end of that. We've definitely noticed that. It might appear, and my assumption is that there's more of a challenge at the moment with interim payments. I mean, we've never had, the last 2 years, there's never been so many outstanding invoices that can be 6, 7, 8. One's just been at 14 months because interim payments haven't been agreed. Yeah. And that, I don't know if it's just a theme that we see and the lens is on, but it is. Do you see that? I mean, because obviously, as your drumbeat, as the internet says, the interim payments.
Well, it's vital, and if we do have to go in heavy sometimes on cases when your client needs the rehab. We've got 2 cases at the moment we've issued in the High Court in fairly early stages because we're just not getting funds. Both cases, liability is straightforward, and both cases we're faced with a difficult opponent. One's an amputation case that someone in my team is running, and the other's a brain injury case that I'm running, and we've had to issue the case far earlier than we ever would have done because we've got INAs crying out for support for these people.
And it's so damaging to the rehab because there's a lot of independent therapists and practitioners that can't sit and wait for
and the clients
4 or 5 months.
I know exactly. You've given me it's really unfair when the therapy teams and case management doesn't get paid. Really
but again, is that the same issue as it's always been, and it's just that we're perceiving that it's so?
I think so. I mean, I do think we are pretty good at paying our bills. To be fair, at Owen Mitchell,
you are not on our hit list.
Hit list. No, I'm very much. I mean, we keep very tight eyes on our interim funds and make sure they're not running down. And if they are running down, that we issue the case. And if there's nothing forthcoming, you just got to move.
But again, I think it comes back to having a good case manager, right? Who's got an eye on everything all the time, planning everything, making sure that invoices are being checked so that you're not billing more than you should, or that it's, the hours aren't over. And because again, we get some that kind of like, whatever hours you need, just do it. And then you're kind of like, well, actually, are they going to get paid? Is it, it's not it has to be kind of like agreed that that's the hours that are needed. But it's just an interesting perspective from your side, because we've definitely noticed the big shift.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a lot of juggling and case planning and being on top of it, I think.
And the other thing that we've noticed a lot more is changing of teams and case managers, more so than I've ever seen. And again, I don't know if that's just a pattern because we're in complex packages.
I have my view on that.
Go on then.
We are all client centered, and we want the client at the heart. But I think now there is a lot more, like you said earlier, when you're having to have these difficult and tricky conversations with, say, families and clients, they sometimes are not wanting to hear it. And I think there is now that option that, okay, I'm not happy with that, I'm going to change. If I change the person, the view might change. And I think I've noticed a lot with that. So when there has been some maybe pushback from a case manager, they've gone, actually, I don't like that approach. I'm going to try something else. And I think it is that, whereas before, I don't know, there used to be discussions, there used to be disagreements, or there used to be maybe difference in opinions, and they were a bit more managed. I feel like, I don't know what's happened, but people are just like, okay, not happy, let's move on. And it's so disruptive for, I can imagine, the process of litigation, but also for the team, when there is just this turnaround of either care staff, support staff, therapy, solicitors. It's just so damaging.
That's really unhelpful, isn't it? Really unhelpful.
That's what I think. I just feel like there's this lack of appreciation that there will be differences in...
There will be difference, and it comes back to that whole, everybody is working around the client, and everybody's got to be on the same page. And there will be, like you say, there will be disagreements.
This is it. It's just how they're managed. Yeah. But I just feel like, it's just having that connected voice rather than people. Again, it's like us and them. I don't like that. We all have to be working together. But that's just my take. But that's even with us in support. If one of our CRAs is maybe doing therapy or interventions that are being, led by clinicians that are maybe not being liked by the client or the family, we're the first to be like, well, actually, we don't want to work with that person anymore. And we just see that a lot now.
It's so important to have family on board. So important.
But the hardest, I feel.
It is, and we often have these debates. It's so important, but also so challenging, isn't it? Because of the goals and the goals of family don't always align with the goals of the MDT, even though you've got really skilled people trying to work holistically and as part of that. But it's just that, certainly I think that the most people that ring the office are family members.
Also, I do feel like you mentioned before, I think they do get the complexities because we are not there 24/7 all the time. So yes, we are a part of the support network, but who do they have?
Absolutely.
They are the primary caregivers, and I think this is what I spoke a lot about, especially with litigation. It's lovely that they do get the support eventually, but probably not soon enough. Because we are all client, we should be all client-centred, but it's actually the family probably needs that support more than the client.
Absolutely.
And from your perspective, is that very much high up there in terms of need and justification?
Yes, absolutely.
More so than it has been before, or
I think it's become a more recognised need. I do. I'm always happy to agree funding for it. I think it's absolutely essential, and I know that the experts that I work with will agree with it as well.
And it just shows you how, I think there was another example of some research showing actually how much a difference environment can make in terms of even home living situations and the need for just an appropriate living space after a brain injury.
Absolutely.
And I think there's actually recommendations, if you can get a person within a more, I don't know what they call it, more appropriate, but also more safe as well, in terms of if you do have lots of siblings or lots of different people living in that space and there's not a separate therapy space, there's actually a lot of research to say there's actually outcomes to say that person would actually do a lot better than the person who didn't have that right environment, which I thought was like mind-blowing.
Yeah, which again comes back to provision, right? And obviously we've lost a lot of neuro rehab centres and transitional living units. We've got more, obviously there's more now, but a lot of the work, well, on top of the day job, as the internet told us, you do a lot of other things, don't you?
Where you have the time is beyond me.
So you and Eky both, so this is we've got the co-chair and the chair in the room.
It's a special place. I can't believe it's been I've been on there 10 years.
ABIL?
Yes, yeah, 10 years.
Was I around the same time as you?
I think so.
It's maybe slightly longer than you, but very similar. Yeah, it's been a long time you've been on the committee.
Yeah.
So what are the main aims of ABIL?
This is passion to me. Do you want to say
it's to raise awareness of brain injury
guys,
in London.
you've got this forum.
Raise awareness. We love putting on workshops, as you call it, to raise standards as well and raise, I suppose, insights into actually what is the upcoming information or sharings of the neuro rehab world. But it's also networking. We are very passionate about connecting people. I don't think brain injury in the future needs more services necessarily. It's more connected services, and that is probably what we BIS are also trying to do, but also ABIL is connecting each other so that we do have better provisions for people with brain injury, motivating the next generation.
Yeah. So obviously ABIL sits on as part of UKABIF. So Sarah, you do work with UKABIF as well?
I became a trustee of UKABIF at the end of last year.
Oh, did you? The internet did not tell us that.
This is a very new position.
Oh, amazing.
Nice.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Excellent.
Amazing.
No, it's great. And makes total sense with working with ABIL as well.
Yeah.
It's really great. Yeah.
That's quite the job.
Yeah.
So you do UKABIF, you've done Headway, East London, ABIL. Anything else? I mean, you're always saying you're at something else.
What else do I do?
You're still you do a lot of events at East London still, don't you?
Oh, I mean, I love
very
Headway East London.
supportive.
It's always been a huge part of my heart, having been a trustee there. No, it's amazing. We were at an art exhibition they hosted last week, actually, which was great. I really love my role as being national lead of brain injury at Owen Mitchell as well, which is great, actually. It's just a great group that we have of people in all of our national offices who are very passionate about working in brain injury, and we share knowledge, which is very, very helpful. We've got a good working group, and we also put on our national conference every year, which I absolutely loved.
It was great. It was really great this year.
It was really great this year.
Really, really good.
So we had loads of lived experience, and the Headway London Choir, which was fabulous, and the young people from ABILs who were wonderful. I really, really, that was one of the highlights of my year. That was. I know it only happened in February, but it took a long time to organise it, but it was tremendous.
No, but it's a lot. But how do you? Because you do a lot of those sorts of events. What's your kind of ratio of
I do
legal work to?
I do have.
advocacy.
All lawyers have time recording targets. I do have a dispensation to do business development and networking, which is great and it's helpful. But I do a lot of casework as well, which I wouldn't want any other way, because I absolutely love it and need to do it. And obviously I manage a team. I'm a partner in the London office, so I do supervision and involved in various other activities. But
so I'm sweating just thinking. How do you juggle this, Sarah? And you do it with a smile. That's just how.
I think it's because
inspirational.
I know Alison Eddy used to always say, if you love your job, it makes the job so much easier, and I think that's true. You probably work a lot harder as well, but I think it's having that interest and that passion does really help.
And it's it is, again, not to sound cliche, but you are genuinely making a difference to people's lives. You are kind of it's up to you to get them what they need to be able to live a life.
It's very satisfying to use sort of a legal process that you can actually achieve these things.
I'm stealing Eky's question. What would you do if you weren't a lawyer?
I'd like to be a librarian or something nice like that.
Just talk to people when they come in.
People who know me
tell people to be
know
quiet.
how much I love going to Cornwall, and there was a bookshop for sale in Cornwall a few years ago.
Oh.
I think we walked past it a few times on holiday, and every time I'd look at it and look at my husband, and he'd say, no.
Longing, not yet, Sarah, not yet.
Something like that. I think I'd go
love
back
that.
to my English roots that I had
literature
before
roots.
I did law. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's lovely. What was your favourite book?
My favourite book? Oh, goodness, that's really hard. I have got a few that I always come back to and read, like, for comfort. And I just really like funny books. Like, I really love, like, Nancy Mitford and Evelyn Waugh and Barbara Pym. I love
Barbara Pym. Okay.
She writes
the recommendation of the day, folks.
Brilliant. Barbara Pym's brilliant.
Yeah, she even gets time to read.
I
I can't remember the last time I read a book.
I used to love books when I was younger, but
It's hard to find time. When my kids were younger, I literally went through a phase of not reading for ages. Remember, I bought Wolf Hall, and it was sort of sat next to my bed for 3 years, and every time I'd look at it, I'd feel so guilty. And then over the last few years, as my kids have grown up a bit,
well, you've got time now, and I think it's important in the work that we all do that you do have something that takes the brain over, because it is, we all love what we do, but obviously we've said many times it's quite a challenging sector to work in. You don't really empty your mental blackboard, unless you can take your brain somewhere else, bookshops in Cornwall. You don't, clients, whether or not, it's not about boundaries, it's about just knowing that there's things that you need to make sure happen for people. And I think that load that probably everyone listening has, you don't entirely ever switch off.
No, and I don't think we appreciate sometimes with the work that we do. I've got some lovely school mum friends, and we'll go out for a drink, and they'll say, well, we just talk about what I've done for the day, and I'll tell them something about something I've done in a brain injury case, and they'll all just turn to me and go, whoa, that happened to your client today, and you had to try and sort that out.
But it's
like,
but that was kind of probably really quite low in, and I don't think any of us, and again, it's kind of like hats off to everyone that's listening that works in the sector. I don't think we do appreciate how much we hold on that blackboard all the time to make sure that our clients are, from your perspective, that there's the claim that's being managed, and you're getting that settlement. For us, it's that there's someone in there doing the work, and it just it just sits there. But an interesting one. I will probably finish on the question of, if you had like control of all neuro rehab units in the country, and you had to get them doing something tomorrow across the board, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. Just amazing rehab all the time, brain injury education, support for the families.
All the things.
Educating the GPs,
educating
the employers, everybody. Education and communication. Just spreading the word, getting it out there.
Because we feel we're doing it.
To give an example for a client, I've got another new client who is a doctor who has had a TBI, and he wants to go back to work, and he's not ready to go back to work, but the NHS HR are quite content for him to go back to work, and it's really, really tricky, and it's the education piece is so important, which is where UKABIF and APIL, hopefully we're helping with that.
I think everyone's got a part to play though, haven't they? Even in the conversations that you have in the pub with the school mums.
Absolutely.
I very much, I'm almost like, you don't want to always talk shop, but part of me is like, you need to know that this could happen to you or a loved one or whatever. And I think just everyone's got a part to play in bringing that another jigsaw together of knowledge around brain injury. So and making services just so much better. Please. And that's we'll bang that drum as well at the same time. Better services. I've loved this. This has been fab.
Thank you for having me.
That was really, really lovely. Thank you. So we will obviously put all the information out about IM and UKABIF and ABIL. But it's been a very, very lovely conversation. So thank you. Nice perspective having it from the other side. But thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you on next episode of BIScussions.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of BIScussions. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring, and we continue to explore ways to raise the standard of brain injury and support and cognitive rehabilitation. If you have enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an update. And if you know someone who might benefit from this conversation, feel free to share it with them. For more resources, insights and information about BIS services, please visit our website www.thebiz.co.uk. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook. Thanks once again.